Awesome. I gotta buy another chair. Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about masking. And no, it's not that type of masking you were doing last Saturday, but rather video editing masking. Okay. Look, I gotta admit, ever since I started this YouTube channel, you guys have been bombarding me with questions. Alex, how did you make that transition? All of you were like, Alex, teach me, how did you make that car go from location to location just pew, pew, pew? What do I have to say to all these questions? Well, you're lucky I'm here, I got your back. No, but really, today I'm gonna show you the same type of masking I've done in a recent video that actually it's not on my YouTube channel, but it is one of my favorite videos I've done in the last 2 to 3 months. Okay, but first, a little bit of context. So the client I made this video for, I know for about 10 years now, ever since I went there to cut my hair for the first time. So yeah, we're talking barbershop. We're talking family business. This is 3 brothers running the show. And man, these guys know what they're doing. And I don't just mean cutting hair. I mean business-wise. When you step in there, it's like you're going back to the 60s. When you sit down to get a haircut or shave your beard, the guy's asking you, would you like some beer? Would you like a sip of whiskey? I'm like, sure, it's 11 o'clock on a Wednesday, give it to me. So yeah, I love going there. And I like working with these guys. I've made several videos for them in the past. I'm gonna stop bragging now. I'll let you watch the video and see you in a minute. Literally.
Now give me the beat.
So what you just watched, it's part of a thing they do once a year. It's like a competition, if you may, called the best beard of the year. What do you think? Should I also compete next year? Do you see me with a beard? Before we actually jump into the timeline to talk about masking, I'd like to fast go through some of the challenges I had doing this project. And in case you're curious, for the whole shoot I had my Panasonic GH5 and the Sigma 18-35 I have attached now on the Sony A7Slll. I know, story for another video. Look, even though I'm used to this kind of shootings, I was a bit on a time pressure, so to speak, because they were all cutting hair and trimming beards at the same time, so I had to always look around and make sure I don't lose any key moments. But the cherry on top was that every time a guy would finish, we had to go in another room where I had pre-set up 2 lights and a background, and of course I had to change my camera settings to take a profile picture that would end up on their social media where people would vote for the best beard of the year. So there was a lot of running back and forth. To be honest, at first I wanted to use my gimbal, but I soon realized that's a bad idea considering I had to always run back and forth, picture, video. So I used my GH5 handheld because I really trust the IBIS inside. The only thing I would have done differently is film in 4:2 to 10-bit to get a lot more flexibility in color grading. But my PC can't handle that type of footage, so that's why I ordered the new MacBook Pro M1 Max. Topic for another video. So now you know, in 2022, I'm gonna eat pasta for the whole year. Okay, so finally, let's jump into the timeline and talk about these masking transitions. So even though we're doing this in Premiere Pro, the technique is the same in the other video editing softwares. This is the whole timeline of the project, but I've opened a new one, removing all the sound and sound effects from it, just to make our life easier for today. As you may have noticed, or maybe not, we have several masking transitions. One is at the very beginning, over here. We have another one going over here. one more in this shot, a third one happening over here, and there's two more. Yes, we have one more here. This is actually my favorite one, and one more over here. Now to speed this up, I'd like to just recreate the first one because it's a bit more straightforward and it's gonna take less time to do. But keep in mind, the way we do this, it's exactly the same if it's here or here. So first, you need to decide where exactly in the timeline you want your masking transition to start. In my case, it's over here because right after we start seeing what's under the table. And this is where I want my new footage to come in. So what you do is stop one frame before the masking should start and drag the video you want right at that point in the timeline. Now, with the first video selected, you'd want to create a new mask. Right under opacity, there's this pen icon. We're gonna make sure our first clip is selected and then click this pen icon and draw a short mask. In this case, the first time doesn't really matter. You can just make it like this. And as you can see, this happened. Premiere Pro thinks we want to mask the first video and only see the second one. But basically, we want to do the other way around. And in order to do that, we just go up here and click invert. And now you created a mask, but only for your first frame. Before you go to the next frame, you want to make sure you go up here and make a marker so that Premiere Pro knows on every single frame how do you want your masking to look like. If by mistake you click away or you don't know why your masking is not appearing anymore, just make sure you select the video and click back into masking over here so that your mask comes back. So now we created our first marker. Now let's create the masking for the next frames. I'm going to use the right key on the keyboard to just move one frame at a time, and I might have to just try to zoom in a little bit because it's going to get a bit tricky to modify the mask. So I'm going to go one frame ahead and I'll try to zoom 150%. Use H on the keyboard to try to drag around and click V again to have my cursor back. And now I'm going to try to move this where it should be, basically somewhere here. Now, if you want this to work nicely, you're going to have to always do it frame by frame. Now, I gotta admit, I've done it maybe skipping every second or third frame in some instances, but it really depends on what exactly you're trying to mask. In this example here, it's better to do it frame by frame. One of the most important settings over here when we're masking is basically feather, because if I put 0, you can see it doesn't cut so smoothly. So basically, in your video, try to play with the feather option to cut it as smooth as possible. I usually let it to 10 to 15. It helps a lot with the transition. And now let's do the same thing frame by frame, and I'll speed this up for you so it's not boring. And a lot of times you're gonna need a lot more points on the mask itself than how you started with. So basically, in this instance, maybe I want to create one more. I just click here and I have another point to drag from, so I can just do this. And since we don't want the mask to appear before the action transition should happen, what I usually do to save time is cut right before that should happen and then just delete the mask itself. Yeah, let's see how that looks. This one over here took me a little bit longer to make because I had to be a bit careful on how the blanket is masked and feathered. The same was over here. We pretty much had the same thing happening. There was the blanket coming over. Although I really like how this one looked. It actually looks a bit more natural. So yeah, in the same way you make a car appear from one location to the other by using a tree or a pole as masking transition to the other shot. The same way I made the text appear magically out of my hands in the beginning of this video. And even though a lot of times you might have your notes and you have your shots in mind and you go recording knowing that you're gonna mask certain shots to others, a lot of times you're gonna find yourself in front of the computer saying, I really like how that looks, I think I'm gonna mask it. And to be honest, the more you play with this kind of techniques, the more you'll be able to get creative planning other shots. And there you go, now you know how to make masking transitions. And if you're not a video editor and you're not planning to be, and you made it through this video, thanks for watching. And look, short disclaimer, even though I'm trying to give tips and tricks here and there and take you with me when I have some client shoots to show you behind the scenes of what's happening when I film or edit, trust me, I'm a bit of a mess when it comes to explaining these kind of things. That's why I'm actually making this type of tutorials to get better at teaching and explaining to people how to do things. So please bear with me on the long run on getting better at making videos while I get better at explaining how to make better videos. We're taking little steps here, people. We're taking little steps. And now we're at the end of the video. You know what everybody says on YouTube when they're done? You know, right? You know, if you like this video, subscribe if you're not already. See you in the next video. Bye. Get it?